European ancestors arrived in the New World believing they were superior to the native inhabitants they found on this continent. Many used their religious beliefs and selected biblical passages taken out of context to justify their immoral actions and inhumane treatment of the indigenous people. We lament the communal trauma of our troubled relations with Native people, and we seek to find a more Christ-like way.
Many of our ancestors who had the power did little or nothing to stop the practice of slavery. Some even participated in the horror that lasted for over 200 years. The enslavement of human beings in this country has had devastating effects on all subsequent generations, and we still grapple with its aftermath today. We lament the lasting legacy of slavery, and we seek to find a more Christ-like way.
And when the Civil War and the 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution made slavery illegal, our white ancestors invented new ways to maintain and enforce racial inequality for their economic benefit and to the detriment of their African American neighbors. The criminal justice system became an economic tool for the enslavement of African American men in many parts of the country, and our criminal justice system is still grappling with the injustice of mass incarceration. We lament how difficult it has been to rid ourselves of all forms of slavery and seek to find a more Christ-like way.
Racial terrorism and denigration were tools used to perpetuate systems of oppression. Justice was subverted by accepted social practices, and racially motivated atrocities were ignored, or worse, sometimes even encouraged by the larger society. We lament how our ancestors stood by and allowed racial terrorism to persist, and we seek to find a more Christ-like way.
1940s and 50s, FHA and VA regulations effectively denied GI housing benefits to African American soldiers returning from the Second World War. Federal regulations and guidelines encouraged realtors and bankers to keep African American families from moving in to newly constructed housing developments, which put most African American families at a significant economic disadvantage for generations. We lament how our government participated in racist practices, and we seek to support a more Christ-like way.
The war on drugs was invented to discredit and arrest African Americans and Latinos in record numbers. Drug addiction was stigmatized and criminalized, and incarcerations have escalated exponentially. Now, the U.S. has the highest number of incarcerated people in the world, and on average, African Americans are incarcerated in state prisons at a rate 5 times higher than that of whites. In some states, the rates are even higher than this. We lament the consequences of the war on drugs on people of color, and we seek to discover and practice a more Christ-like way.
Despite the gains made in the civil rights movement in the 1960s, systematic racism continues today, evidenced by mass incarceration, education gaps, housing gaps, healthcare, and income gaps, just to name a few. Often the individual victims of these inequities are blamed for not exercising personal responsibility. Complex issues of race and class still divide us and make it all the more difficult to clearly understand and unravel systems of racist policies that still exist. We lament the current inequities that continue to exist in our country today, and we commit to seek solutions so that together we may live a more Christ-like way.